Hmm. Hello, everybody, to my Speak Up for Our Future audience. I thought I would get on here real quick to do a small stream talking about what happened at the Capitol on Wednesday. I am just saddened by how people came out like rabid animals, determined to tear down and possibly blow up the nation's capital. Kind of felt like another 911, as some have said. Um, 5 people are now confirmed dead from this situation. They are calling it an insurrection, and they're putting the blame on Trump's shoulders because, like most people that are radicalized by ways of media or by people they follow, one woman got shot in the chest who was a rabid follower of Donald Trump. The people down there tried to help her, but by the time they got her to the hospital, she was gone. And the next story that I do know of is that a police officer was pulled into the crowd and beaten to death by fire extinguishers. And they showed shots of a guy that broke into Pelosi's office. And they have him in custody today. Let's see what they're saying here. I put some of the articles that I want to talk to you about. And it says, man allegedly broke into Pelosi's office charged with 3 federal counts. And I'll share this at the end of my video here. And it says he was arrested this morning in Little Rock, Arkansas. And his name is Richard Barnett, the man who allegedly broke into the House Speaker's office, posed for pictures, and stole mail from her desk. He was arrested Friday morning in Little Rock, Arkansas, and has been charged with 3 federal counts. He was charged with entering a restricted building, violent entry, and disorderly conduct on Capitol ground, and stealing public property. West Virginia state Republican lawmaker Derek Evans has also been charged with illegal entry, as he allegedly recorded himself in a video entering the Capitol. 2 other men, Christopher Michael Roberts and Mark Leffingwell, were also charged by federal investigators. And they have pictures of some of these nut jobs. I think, the picture of the guy that they show in this article, which will be shared if I can fit it, has a envelope of some kind with Nancy Pelosi's name on it. Here you go. Here is what I want you guys to look at. I'm hoping it'll fit, because it'll save me a lot of bull trying to find it later. Oh, it'll fit. Hopefully this will work. Click on that link should you want to read it. But they caught this guy who broke into Capitol grounds, violently broke in, and he's charged with federal counts along with other people, including a West Virginian state Republican. Derek Evans has also been charged after he allegedly recorded himself in a video entering the Capitol, and I think he later deleted it. So, yeah. And it says 2 other men, Christopher Michael Alberts and Mark Leffingwell, were also charged by federal investigators. Alberts was one of the protesters who stormed the Capitol and was slow in responding to order to leave the premises, according to a complaint unsealed at the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. That is where the Capitol police officer who wrote the indictment said he noticed Alberts had a handgun in his hip and was wearing a bulletproof vest and a backpack. Alberts tried to flee when officers noticed his weapon, but officers detained him quickly, according to the complaint. A black Taurus C2G 9mm gun was recovered from D1's right hip. Additionally, a separate magazine was located on D1's left hip. Both the gun and the spare magazine were held in two separate holsters. The handgun had 1 round in the chamber with a 12-round capacity magazine filled with 12 rounds, and the spare magazine also had 12-round capacity and was filled with 12 rounds. MPD officers also seized a gas mask from the defendant's person, as well as his backpack containing a pocket knife, 1 packaged military meal ready to eat, and 1 first aid medical kit, the indictment says. Laughingwell is charged with knowingly entering and remaining in any restricted building or grounds, assault on federal law enforcement officers, violent entry, and disorderly conduct on Capitol grounds. Laughingwell was in the U.S. Capitol building and attempted to push past law officers that secured a barrier, according to this complaint. When he was detained from advancing further into the building, Laughingwell punched me repeatedly with a closed fist. I was struck in the helmet I was wearing and in the chest, wrote the officer in the complaint. The complaint also said that he apologized to the officer he struck, but was still arrested. And they need to start going after these guys and holding them accountable, because it's a really scary day in America when, our government is trying to do their jobs by certifying the president, and the other president that is getting ready to leave office holds a rally and is basically counted down on that, as it has been documented. And he has gotten suspended from Twitter for so many hours. And I know Mr. Trump is gone permanently from Facebook, at least until his term is over, and maybe longer than that, because, I know people are angry with the way things have gone the last 4 years, and I guess in some respects I can't blame them, but it doesn't give them the right to act like a bunch of apeshit crazies and go to our Capitol and try to kill people. I mean, already 1 woman is dead, and a cop is dead, and 3 others are dead by other unknown causes. And I was watching a lot of videos here on YouTube. I have a playlist over on my first channel. It's on sharing news and music. I'll be sure to share it here. I'll add it to this channel in the future. But I've seen one where the girls of The View were talking about the terror that was brought on by the Capitol. And I'll see if I can find that video for you now. And we will hear it together. I've already done this for my other channel, but I feel it needs to be heard. And let's see. Go to Yahoo and I'll look for The View, and we will go from there. Give me a minute and I will find it. So, yeah. Yep. Let's see. The View. Come on. Political fallout from the Capitol, part 1. Okay. See if I can find the right one, because I got so many up here. I think it was... Oh, shit. Let's see if I can find it here. Is Trump further dividing the GOP? Okay. Let's see. Shit. Oh, crap. I can't find it. So let me look in my history here. Nope, it's not in this history. But they were talking about how these people were, let's see. They were talking about how these insurrectionists had overtaken the Capitol and that they are not really patriots, and it's sad. Let me play one of them so I can make sure that we have the right one. So this is from 3 days ago.
Franklin University makes it possible. As you receive your diploma.
Oh, God. The apocalypse is sad. I mean, it really is. Hold on. I think this is it. Yeah, you'll have to listen to what they have to say. I think it needs to be, I think it needs to be heard. So, again, I don't own any of the audio, but if you want the video, go to the view, and it's under the title, Is Trump Further Dividing the GOP, I think. Here we go.
I was posing the question as to whether we think there should be more than two parties, Democrats and Republicans, because you have...
No, this isn't the one.
Posing the question as to whether we think there should be more than two parties, Democrats and Republicans, because you have conservative...
Now, let me look for the one here. Hold on. Give me a minute here. This is what happens when I go live. So, let's see. Trump asked Georgia to overturn defeat from 4 days ago. Let me see here. Oh, hang on. Let me go through all their videos first. That might help. Okay, here we go. Political fallout from Capitol siege. Here we go. This is the one I was looking for. I'm sorry. So, yeah, I think this is the one.
This is the...
So we'll let the ad run through, and then I'll turn on the sound. But yeah, I want you to hear what they have to say. I think it bears listening to. It's under the title, Political Fallout from Capitol Siege, Part 1. So let me pull that back and we will play the sound, and I own no copyrights to the audio. So here we go.
5 people died as a result of Wednesday's domestic. 5 people died as a result of Wednesday's domestic terrorism, which we're now calling it that, including a police officer. This is really sickening. The New York Times is reporting that he was brutally beaten with a fire extinguisher. Okay? Trump finally conceded yesterday, and even though he has 12 days to go in his term, there seems to be a push to get rid of him now, whether it's through impeachment, the 25th Amendment, or just pressuring him to resign. I personally, in Watergate, the Republicans went to the White House and told Richard Nixon, you need to resign because there are votes in the Republican Congress to get you to impeach and convict. And that is why Richard Nixon resigned. Are they willing to do that with this man today? I don't know. I think that, what do you think, Megan?
Look, I had hoped so. I think if it isn't the 25th Amendment, then they should impeach immediately. I think the problem is the questioning of his mental state. This is a person who has now incited a violent riot. He is refusing to concede, and he's questioning the legitimacy of our elections. It's completely historically unprecedented, and it's exactly what Alexander Hamilton warned us about when he wrote the Federalist Papers. So I think it's an absolute constitutional crisis. I've never said that before. I'm not someone who's sounding the alarm the entire time about smaller things. I think this is, you know, at the moment in time that I would like him to leave today. And honestly, his family, Ivanka Trump, if she has any decency left in her whatsoever, she should make him leave today, as you said, in the historical comparison to Richard Nixon. I don't know if it will happen, but it should. My other note for this morning is I've been doing a lot of thinking and soul searching and ruminating on why this happened, why it got to this point, because a lot of the people who stormed the Capitol, they're not the stereotypical, I believe Anderson Cooper said, Olive Garden eaters. The woman who was shot is a 14-year Air Force veteran who had served multiple tours and lived in San Diego, who was radicalized on the internet and decided to do this and lost her life. There are people who are millionaires who flew private planes, who are bragging about it being the best day of this woman's life to go and storm the Capitol. Doctors, lawyers, it is not just one stereotype in the country. And I think we need to do some real soul searching about the fact that these people are not going away just because Joe Biden will now be president, and what it means and how we can somehow not get the genie back in the bottle, but heal and move forward and stop this, because normal 14-year Air Force veteran radicalized to become a domestic terrorist.
Well, to that point, I just would like to say that if you're a student of history, you know that fascism appeals to all strata. It's not just people who have no education. I mean, go back to World War II and see what happened in Germany. I mean, many of those people who followed Hitler were highly educated, including the people around him. Dr. Mengele, for example, highly educated. Goebbels, the rest of them. It has nothing to do with education. It has to do with philosophy. What do you think is the best move here, Sarah?
Well, I think if I could snap my fingers, I think any of the above, the invoking the 25th Amendment, impeachment, resignation, but the reality of them seems pretty slim. One, he won't resign. Two, the 25th Amendment, I don't have a lot of faith in, because you need Pence in the cabinet and they're dropping like flies right now. Right now I'm hearing a storyline that's of interest right now, and it's about the impeachment. So when I first heard about that, I thought, we've got 12 days, a lot can happen, but what are the odds that, how plausible is this option? But then I'm hearing that there is a chance, and again, it's being discussed by some Democrats later today, about it, by impeaching him a second time, it could bar him for running in the future. And so whereas I could care less, like buckle him down, get to the 20th safely and securely so we can have a successful inauguration. We've been warned as to what can happen if we aren't careful. I don't know if doing this for symbolism or punishment just punitively is good enough, because again, we could be inciting some of this residual kind of anger and vitriol. But if it means we could get an insurance policy that he could not run again in the future, which again, there's legal push back and forth as to what that's possible, I could 100% hitch my wagon to that if we knew that we could pull him from any platform of power going forward. But I also, hearing what Megan said, I think it raises a serious point. Even when Trump leaves, we are left with the problem that brought us Trump. So we do need to figure out what that is.
We will be left with that, Sarah, but we need a charismatic figure at the head of that in order for it to really take off. So we do not need him there. His followers, I mean, in the Senate, in the Congress, are not charismatic like he is. Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, those people, they have the charisma of this piece of paper. Okay.
Those emotions, they were put on hold by time.
Here's another one.
University.
God damn. Adpocalypse is right on this platform. Pause that. I'll skip the ads. Okay, now I think this is the right one, so give me a minute here. Okay, bitch.
Hours ago, the hottest topics were Warnock and Ossoff flipping the Senate and Joe Biden getting certified as our next president. But right after yesterday's show, our nation's capital fell under siege by domestic terrorists. Yes, that's what I said, domestic terrorists who had the audacity to call themselves patriots. Take a good look at what they did and don't ever forget it.
USA! USA! Let me just say
The FBI is asking for help identifying those responsible. So let's start with you know who, because this all stems from his fingers. You know who, his son, his faux lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, and everybody else who was on stage at yesterday's rally. They sent all those people to the Capitol building where they knew there were not enough officers there to protect anybody that was in there, including the Vice President of the United States, the newly elected Vice President of the United States, and all the other folks that were sitting in there. So if you want to look for somebody, there are 3 people right there whose fingers are the dirtiest because they knew what they were doing and they did it anyway. That's all I really want to say. Now, I'll say to you, how is everybody doing? How are you doing, Megan?
This is one of the great national tragedies of my lifetime. This is one of America's darkest days. I have been absolutely despondent watching this. I'm here in DC, as everyone knows. My sister-in-law works on Capitol Hill, and the office door where she works, the window was busted out. I think that this is a time to take a very hard look at where we are as a country and take a very hard look at where we are with President Trump. The bedrock of our democracy and the bedrock of who we are as Americans is the peaceful transition of power. And he is clearly a president who has turned into a mad king. And at this point, I'm calling on all Republicans and conservatives who still have clout. We have to invoke the 25th Amendment. We cannot withstand this. Our country cannot go on like this. And we cannot possibly risk the idea that we could have more violence between now and President Biden getting elected and inaugurated. You know, yesterday when I was watching the footage, these bastards are using the American flag as symbols as they are attacking our own republic, the same flag that our veterans at Iwo Jima held after World War II. You are not patriots. You do not represent America. You are scum of the earth who are using and abusing and bastardizing all that I love and have grown up with for your own sick agenda. And that agenda has been directly sent by President Trump. And then he didn't disavow it. He didn't send in the National Guard. And then he called them special and said, we loved them. Ivanka Trump called these people patriots. I am a patriot. I come from a patriotic family. I come from a family of service, as does everyone on this show. You are hurting our country. Yeah. You are becoming a national embarrassment, and we have to get him out immediately because this cannot stand. The final words I want to say on this show this morning, in the words of Oliver Cromwell, in the name of God, go. Go. We cannot take this anymore.
Yeah. And I want to commend Joy, because Joy Behar has been saying this man needed help forever. And Joy, when I get to you, we'll talk more, but I know I have to go to Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm still probably shaken like everyone else, and even seeing those clips leading into this segment, they rattle me, and I feel my heart race. It honestly reminded me for the first time of 9/11 when we were watching the TVs and the towers, because I remember standing, I was a page at NBC and looking around and waiting for an adult to come in the room and tell me everything would be okay. And I sat here yesterday watching this, feeling the same way. I was waiting for someone to say this was all going to be fine. And I can't help but think of, you know, the 74 million people that voted for Trump. And I know the vast majority would not approve of what happened yesterday. These were extremists. These were domestic terrorists. I get that. But along the way, so many people, a lot of the GOP leaders turned their cheek in the name of the platform. You know, there were a lot of people that were trying to hold on to the old conservative ideals and kept giving him a pass. And that's what emboldened this. And we saw the foreshadowing in Michigan when they stormed there, and the conspiracy to kidnap the governor. We saw this coming. Mm-hmm. So finally last night, you know, Senator Graham, Mitch McConnell said enough is enough. And they, you know, it's too late. I'm glad they did it. But this is what I ask people. Votes have consequences. And I understand there are platforms and party interests and things that are still remain true in this country. But when your man becomes the outside guy that comes up to shake everything up, you have to ask yourself, how shaken are we okay with? When is enough enough? And that's what we saw yesterday.
Yeah. Joy, I gotta say, you called this man's monstrosity ages ago. I'm sorry, do you feel vindicated? It's a terrible question for me to ask.
Well, no, not really. I mean, I feel that the events of yesterday were, to me, like a pimple popping. It brought a lot of people to see the reality of the situation that I've been bitching about for 4 years. I mean, I remember, because I'm so old, I remember with Watergate, it took the Republicans, 5 minutes to get rid of Nixon. This has taken the Republican Party 4 years and a violent outbreak to come to their senses. The good news is, and let's start here, I am so happy that the Democrats are in charge now. I believe that they will do a much better job. I believe that they will look for the loopholes that caused President Trump to even do the things that he did legally. I think that they will find those things. But, one more thing I would like to say. The whole ugly demonstration showed you that the police are capable of restraining themselves. They know how to do it. You saw it. Not only that, many of them enabled these insurrectionists to go into the Capitol and endanger the life of people like Dianne Feinstein, who's like 85 years old, had to be hiding. I mean, it's outrageous. And I don't forgive Lindsey Graham. He can go on the floor of the Capitol and cry his eyes out. He is part and parcel of the problem. And so is Mitch McConnell and this idiot Josh Hawley. He needs to be stripped of all committee things that he's been doing. Ted Cruz, Rudy Giuliani, go back to the landscaping business. Yep. You are done.
God, if I have to see those ads one more fucking time, I'm going to scream. But there you have it, ladies and gents. I'm not going to put you through the adpocalypse because of that, because, what happened at the Capitol did not have to happen. I mean, they said now 5 people are dead, and, that includes 3 people, a police officer, and 1 woman. So, yeah. Pretty sad state, isn't it? 5 is 5 too many. I've been hearing a lot of things, and I seen a video where Trump, his son, and a bunch of other people were actually watching all that crap go down as the insurrectionists, or homegrown terrorists, as I like to call it. They stormed the Capitol building. Trump Jr., and whoever else was there was watching all this go down while they were playing Laura Branigan's song, Gloria. Look it up on Twitter. I have it up on my Twitter page. And it's sad, it's disgusting, and it's like watching a sporting event. But this is people making a mess of our Capitol and possibly threatening lives. And as I said, somebody reminded me on my other channel here the other day. You remember when somebody said that they were ready to die for Trump? Well, that day it came true for some of them. And I happened to think about it, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that. It left me cold. It left me sick to my stomach. It left me shaken. And there are some foreign ambassadors, to put it kindly, that say American democracy is on its last legs. And I think what this presidency will show is that we really need to look into who we are going to elect for the President of the United States. We cannot allow anybody without any political experience to maintain the office of the President of the United States. You have to have somebody that has the experience, the know-how, and basically the patience and the willingness to work hard to handle the affairs of this country. Because what happens here has an after effect around the world. I mean, we've seen that. When Biden got elected, everybody around the world was celebrating. When coronavirus hit and we were all going through this together, people from overseas were reaching out to us. I have friends over in England and other parts of the world, sending their well wishes and asking how I'm doing. But there are days I just say I'm doing. So I've got CNN on now, but I don't have the sound on. And they're now talking about a possible fast-spreading COVID variant. So yeah, I mean, this has far exceeded 9/11 and far exceeded Pearl Harbor. And Thursday's death numbers were over 4,000 people. So yeah, but it's just sad. This whole country is imploding. We need to start looking out for our neighbors because Mr. Trump sure isn't going to. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to get some balance. And you have to keep busy any way you can. And I'm doing the best I can. And I didn't even know about the attack on the Capitol until somebody actually talked about it on Facebook. I heard about prayers for Washington, D.C., but I didn't get it until I turned on the TV. And it looked like something out of a nightmare. And they said over 52 people had been arrested. They even caught the guy who broke into Pelosi's office with his leg up on the desk, and he took an envelope with her name on it. And he's facing several federal charges. And the mayor from where he came from in Arkansas said, he is not who represents us in our town, and good. You don't need a rogue person to ruin your city. And it's sad. I mean, it really is sad that we live in such a tumultuous time, but the last 4 years have been hell on earth, and I am a certified high blood pressure patient as a result of that. I don't like the fact that I have to take meds, but my numbers are now getting back down to good standing, and I hope to keep them that way. But, in less than 12 days, Trump will be out of the White House, and Biden will be sworn in. And, Mr. Biden is going to go to his inauguration, and no matter what, he can't worry about what's going to happen. He's going to go and do what he has to do to take the oath of office. And as I've said, I don't think we could have taken another 4 years of Trump, especially after what happened at the Capitol on Wednesday. And my thoughts go out to the police officer that was savagely killed by a person with a fire extinguisher. You could look at the article on the sidebar, and you can look up any other information that you want on the Capitol attack. You could do that, and over the coming days, I'll be sure to be adding stuff into a playlist here so you guys could track what's happened. But for now, I think we all should just take stock in ourselves and try not to take things for granted, because there's been a lot of damage to this country. And it's not just because of Trump. It's because of the people that ransacked the Capitol. And I know there were a lot of people waiting in locked offices, and whenever they could stream out, and let their family know that they were okay and that they broadcast messages. And I hate to say it, but Trump really put his foot in it this time. They're calling for impeachment and possible prosecution, but with him wanting to pardon himself, we'll just have to wait and see. But the fact that hundreds of thousands of people rushed the Capitol on Wednesday shows how dark things have become for this country. But I want to let my family know that Trump doesn't speak for me. I want to let my friends overseas know that he will never speak for me. What you saw on the Capitol is not what America is about. maybe Miss Behar was right. It was like a pimple that just popped and all the poison came to the surface. People are dying during a pandemic, and those people, the traitors, don't care that they go to the Capitol and try to overturn a vote, all because their boy didn't win the election. And they identified the girl that was shot dead, and they talked to her mother and her husband. The mother says, I don't know why my daughter would want to do this. And the father wasn't with her, the husband wasn't with her. But when you're so caught up on the guy's juju, I guess you'll do anything to make your president proud. But like McCain said on TV, they are not patriots. They are scum. They are terrorists. A real person of the United States would not bombard the Capitol. And that's another thing I want to talk about. There was some dereliction of duty, not just by Mr. Trump, but we're talking about some of the police that were taking selfies. Some of the police were letting people walk out and not get arrested. And there were people that were bringing weapons. Some even had guns that didn't have any license. And they had, one of them had a weapon that was not allowed. And some person even brought pipe bombs to the Republican and Democrat type places. Where the RNCs are. So, yeah. And it's just a sad day for America. I have not seen anything this bad. I mean, this tops anything that has happened in history in the past 40 years. This is as bad, if not worse, than 9/11, because I would hate to think that those people broke into the main chamber where they all were trying to do their job, and those people opened fire on the floor. I don't think I could have lived if that ever happened. But they showed the Secret Service with their guns out, and it looked like something out of a movie. And that is something I don't ever want to see again. I don't think I'd want to go near the Capitol for a long time. And I would hate to think that if somebody that had been in the cabinet that was just trying to do their jobs, I would hate to think if they were shot or killed. How would we move on from this? I'm hoping the people in the House and the Senate will do the right thing, but there are people that still support Trump no matter what. But this can't go on. I mean, we got about 11 and a half days, seeing as how it's almost 5 o'clock. But all we can do is wait and see. I'll just be glad when the 20th gets here and maybe we can get off on a better footing. But right now, I don't know. I'm going to get off. I'm getting a headache. It's like I said, the whole thing about the Capitol was making me nauseous. Just the fact that it was happening. It's something that you never expect, but then I've learned you have to expect the unexpected. And I think they said the police chief, the Capitol police chief, was going to resign. A bunch of Trump's people have already resigned, and I think there's going to be a lot more coming. We just have to wait and see what happens. Well, you guys have a good night. I'm going to get ready and lay down. I'm not feeling so hot. I think I got me a bit of a bellyache. But what I saw at the Capitol on Wednesday was not the America that I want to know. And like Megan said, they had the audacity to have American flags and carrying Confederate flags. and some brought guns and pipe bombs. That's not a peaceful protest. They were out for blood. I am willing to believe that those guys were out for blood. If they had their way, they probably would have shot their way in. And it basically displayed some of the fears of the people that were counting the regular votes from voting day. Where people were going to the convention center. They caught a couple guys with guns at a convention center where people were counting votes. So, this was just a boiling point. There was like a run on one Capitol where they were trying to kidnap one of the elected officials a little while back. That was like a test run probably for the Capitol. You really can't take things too lightly anymore. I think Trump has stoked the fires of racism, xenophobia, anti-Black, anti-woman, anti-disabled, just about anything across the spectrum. If they're mad about something, they're going to do something about it, and they don't care who they hurt or who they kill in order to get what the hell they want. But, even though the woman was a Trump supporter, she didn't have to die. Just like that police officer, he was just trying to do his job. He got pulled into the crowd and got his life beat out of him. And then I don't know what happened to the other people that had died. But I'm hoping that somebody will pay for this. And I think it should rest on the Trumps and whoever enabled him. Because, like somebody said, they had 4 years. They had 4 years to rein him in and keep him under control, but they didn't do a very good job. And as I close this video out, for the foreseeable future, it looks like Donald Trump has been removed from Facebook outright. I guess the CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, finally grew a set of balls and decided to drop the hammer on him. It went from a temporary suspension to a permanent one. And he's back on Twitter today. He said he was not going to the inauguration for Joseph Biden. And Biden says, that's the one thing we both can agree on. But, he was wanting him to come. But then if he says that, I think Biden is glad. He doesn't need that kind of aggravation. But yeah. But keep an eye on your local news affiliates for any and all current or future news headlines. I think it's a pretty sad day. I don't know how we're going to move on from this, but we'll just have to wait and see. I probably won't be on tomorrow. I got some things I got to do. I'm going to try and get out and away from the TV for a couple of hours. I probably need it. I think I'm going through another round of burnout. So, yeah. So I'm going to get out tomorrow and get some fresh, cold winter air and just try and enjoy the day and try not to sweat the small stuff. So you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you again sometime either Sunday or Monday, because you might want to watch CNN on Monday, because I heard they're writing up articles of impeachment that could possibly be submitted by Monday. So, yeah, keep checking CNN.com or your local news affiliates for all the details. That's all I can tell you right now. So, yeah. Have a good night, and take care of yourselves. And if you're going out this weekend, mask up, take care of yourself, look out for your family, and always tell your family that you love them. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you like the content that I share on this channel, smash the bell, give a like. You can decide whether to get notifications. You can get some notifications, all notifications, or none. I don't care. I don't do this for money. I do this because it's the right thing to do. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.